The story begins with Chloe checking her paper map. Her apprentice Adonis complains about the heat and asks Chloe to use her magic to cool the weather down. She turns around and gives him the evil eye, threatening to leave him behind if he keeps complaining. Whilst Chloe tries to figure out their location, Adonis pulls out his smartphone and it identifies their location. She screams in his face, full of anger, highlighting these types of weird machines can track them. He tries to de-escalate the situation, pointing out it is in fact a smartphone and he made it himself, therefore nobody would be able to track them. He continues further, explaining it uses free-form summoning magic, therefore they cannot even be found by the army's triangulation technology. He offers to make her one, as paper maps are out of fashion now. She stands behind him, red face, clenching her fists. Adonis sits down sulking. He asks Chloe why they continuously have to be on the run. She reminds him that she is a witch and it is difficult to even stay alive as people's attitudes have changed. She makes a joke, referring herself to a ninja rather than a witch, as she has to blend into human cities and avoid human towns. He remains silent, therefore she put her hand on his shoulder and told him they need to keep moving. She tells him to remain silent unless it is essential until they cross the border. She hopes they find a place that is tolerant towards witches in order to regain their peaceful and content life. She smiles and tells Adonis she will find him a nice school to attend, but he does not look impressed because he does not need school as long as he is studying under Chloe. She torments him, saying she did not realize he was into older women. This infuriated him as he did not mean it in this way. She walks away full of joy, dancing around. He wonders how she can be so happy being in the Rydia Empire. He despises the place so much that he would love to wipe out the whole population with magic. Just as they thought they were alone, the Western squad approach. They identify Chloe as a witch and their mission is to destroy her. Adonis wants to take care of it, but she puts her hand across him and refuses due to his lack of experience. She uses her ice magic known as Oleat. Emperor Goth is introduced. A guard is on one knee apologizing to his majesty. He explains Chloe uses ice magic and is a top-ranked witch, consequently a single squadron would not be able to take her out. He is kicked down to the floor for defying his majesty. The Emperor demands that he brings Chloe to him instantly. Chloe completely destroyed the Western squad with her ice magic. Adonis begins to shake in anger as Chloe never lets him use his magic to defeat the enemy. He questions why he is even studying magic if she will not allow him to use it. When she tells him he does not have enough experience with magic, he proves her wrong, creating a huge sword blasting into the ground. She sighs at him, closing her eyes, warning him if he continues, she will get mad. Adonis does not stop and instead accuses her of treating him different because he is a human. Tears fall down his face because all he wants to do is to be able to protect her. Before he can finish his sentence expressing his love to her, she grabs hold of him and comforts him. Whilst they're having a moment together, the frozen Western squad has advanced technology enabling them to synchronize their location. Chloe and Adonis are then lifted into the air by a long-distance physical transfer. Chloe is baffled as witches cannot even accomplish this. They hold hands together and promise to be there for one another. Back at the Emperor's castle, he carries out a speech to his people. He begins by explaining for a long period they have been protected by magic, and they have always relied on witches whenever a natural disaster or plague arose. He continues saying they have always respected and feared them due to their magic surpassing human limits. The Emperor introduces their new advanced technology such as airships, automatic trains, and smartphones to strengthen and control themselves. His plan is to eliminate all witches and to rule the world. They all raise their hands with happiness. The physical transfer has completed, dumping Chloe and Adonis at the center of the stage. The Emperor finally meets Chloe in person. Adonis urges Chloe to run whilst he charges at Emperor Goth. He is taken down by the guards. Chloe demands they let Adonis free if they truly value their own people's lives. She begins to commence with her ice magic. She explains the only reason she has not destroyed all humans is because Adonis would have no home to return to. However, they have now become too dangerous. As she attempts to blast them with her ice magic, it is quickly intercepted and disappears. She is in extreme shock. The Emperor highlights they have developed enhanced science to stop her magic. Adonis is frustrated as his magic is not activating. The Emperor walks down the steps and approaches Chloe, grabbing her by the shirt and then rips it off, slapping her to the ground. He refers her to a mere woman since she is unable to use magic. The spectators laugh, encouraging one another to take photos of Chloe. One notices her melons and tells her not to hide them. Adonis manages to escape. As he runs at the Emperor, he is quickly taken back down. The Emperor requests his guards to kill Adonis. Chloe prostrates to the Emperor, begging them to leave Adonis alone and to destroy her. She tells the Emperor that Adonis is human like him, and she is to blame for everything. Chloe explains Adonis was kidnapped by her and she brought him up as her slave. She begins to cry, begging to spare his life. Adonis also begins to cry as his eyes bulge when he heard she called him his slave. He attempts another time to activate his magic by writing on the floor. The Emperor pulls out a gun and puts it to Chloe's head. Tears fall from Adonis' eyes as he reminisces about the first time he met Chloe. The Emperor shoots her. His guards follow up, shooting continuously to finish her off. The crowd watch on recording and begin cheering. Adonis, however, cannot hold back the tears. The Emperor raises Chloe's head in front of the people in victory. 10 years have passed. At the Mayhem internment camp, 2 prisoners are fighting over a piece of bread. Doroka offers to give one of them their bread in order to stop fighting. The prisoner snatches it out of her hand, telling her to keep out of it in future. We are then introduced to Anna. She is concerned as Doroka already gave someone her bread earlier on. She dances away, demonstrating she is fine and full of energy. Anna explains due to the gear expansion, technology has advanced. People continue to fight against each other and wars never stop. She holds on to Doroka and begins to cry because the world was supposed to be a happy place since the elimination of witches, but this has not been the case. Doroka performs a puppet show for Anna to cheer her up, which resulted in both of them laughing together. Their moment was quickly interrupted by the guards. They shout for number 218 to come with them. The prisoners worry as nobody has returned since being called out. Anna's face drops as she realizes it is her number being called out. Doroka swaps numbers with her and stands up. She is taken to Chief Warden Palpal. He orders for her to strip as he needs to make sure she is good enough for the Lord she will serve. She jumps in shock. He grabs her by her chain and begins to take selfies with her, telling Doroka she will go for a good price. As the chief sends the selfie to the headquarters, Doroka felt hungry and decided to take a bite of his finger. He screams in excruciating pain. She quickly makes the attempt to escape. Doroka has stolen the phone which controls the prison doors. The phone has a voice authentication set by the facility manager. After many failed attempts, she finally impersonates his voice, correctly opening all the doors. She screams for the prisoners to run. There is too many of them for the prison guards to control, so they call for backup. Doroka then opens up the cell doors. As she enters, she is taken down by the guards. They are extremely worried as the doors are all open and there is nothing they can do. The chamber doors begin to open. Inside is a mysterious man chained up. He breaks through the chains. The guards are extremely worried as the prisoner is in fact Adonis. They attempt to lock him back up. The prisoner takes on all the guards, defeating them all. Doroka is speechless. She begs for him not to kill her, but he shoots her down. The senior executive Yamato orders Ikaut to head to the Mayhem internment camp and report back on the condition. He informs him to arm himself with weapons greater than Class 5. Ikaut whips off his cape and heads towards the camp. The chief warden Palpal screams when he realizes the confiscated item storage room is open. One of the guards apologizes and explains Doroka imitated his voice to unlock the voice authentication. He panics, worrying how he will explain to the people above him about the situation. He explains further that the device would not have allowed her to open the chamber due to his authority level. He points out the room contained Adonis, who is the most dangerous prisoner. Adonis is sitting on top of a building. He carries out his written style summoning magic to cause havoc in the city. He begins by blasting a large bullet through a building. Bystanders watch on in fear. Adonis looks angrily over the city and promises to destroy every last citizen. Ikaut is at the camp and reports back to Yamato that Adonis is nowhere to be found. He has been informed about the destruction of the building and plans to head over to the city. Before he left, Palpal and his guards kneel to Ikaut, shaking with fear. He has no remorse and kills the 3 of them. Doroka appears and in fact was not killed by Adonis. She finds the large bullet in the building and falls to her knees, blaming herself for this tragedy. Adonis does not think Chloe would be impressed by his actions and dreams of her telling him not take revenge but instead escape and to enjoy his life. He summons a giant robot. This magic form is known as Grand. The robot smashes through buildings. He picks up Adonis and the people run for their lives. At the police station, they receive a call about the appearance of the giant. They first assume it is a prank call, but when a car smashes into the station, the officers realize the call is legitimate once they witness the giant themselves. Adonis has one thing in his mind, that is to destroy Emperor Goth. The senior executive has been informed of the news when he finds out the giant robot is heading in his direction. He declares for a state of emergency and appeals for air-ground assistance from all available aircraft, along with sending in armored foot soldiers. They notice the robot from a distance and cannot believe how it is even able to move due to its size. Yuki informs Yamato Adonis has escaped from the internment camp and is certain the robot has been created by magic. He requests for the magic photon suppression device, stating it will be easy to take down the robot. The guard explains it is in underground storage, however due to it being 10 years old it may not work efficiently. Yamato tells Yuki to take control of the matter. There is a national announcement for citizens to evacuate rapidly and head to a safe location. The citizens beg for help. The defensive line arrive. They point out their target and begin firing. The shells completely miss the robot and instead fire into the buildings. Adonis' 10 years in captivity was consumed meaningfully. It was a stimulation without boundaries and was the definitive environment to determine the most accurate method to massacre a state. The only way for a non-witch to perform magic is in the way of written-style summoning magic. Due to Adonis having such a great teacher in Chloe, he was able to master his magic abilities. He summons the bullet bell and begins firing at all the civilians as he seeks revenge for his master Chloe. Tears pour down his face as he starts to feel guilt of his actions. Eekhout arrives and spots Adonis' location. When he reports back to Yamato, he sends out the aircrafts to commence with the attack. Tons of missiles are dropped, destroying the city, bombing its own people. A young boy begs for his mother to wake up. His eyes light up once he discovers a huge piece of a building appearing over his head. As it drops onto the people, Daroka miraculously saves the boy. She apologizes to the boy for everything that is happening. She asks a lady to take care of him and flee from the area. The woman holds her hand up and explains she is unable to take care of him. Daroka runs off. When the lady asks where she is going, Daroka replies she will go to stop the robot. Adonis lays stretched out on the floor and the army begin climbing down from the helicopters. Back at the Imperial Castle's sanctum, it is clear Emperor Goth has clearly aged whilst he lays in his bed. His wife takes care of him by rubbing his head with a cloth. She asks him to take rest and reassures him the Empire is in safe hands due to his efforts over the years by strengthening it. He lifts himself up and begins coughing. The Queen starts to panic. We find out the Emperor has an incurable illness. She orders for someone to call a doctor immediately, but he assures her he will be fine. The Emperor lays back down and asks God if this is a curse. He recalls of everything he has did in the past, building a hyper-scientific civilization and destroying all witches, all for the sake of progression. He continues further, pointing out humanity could not have progressed with the existence of witches and there is no room for magic in the new era. As a result, he is certain he made the correct choices. When Yamato is informed all his men have been wiped out, he cannot believe it. Adonis has the last soldier by his throat, lifting him in the air. The soldier knew they should have got rid of him 10 years ago. Adonis agrees with him. As he is about to defeat the soldier, Daroka appears and screams for him to stop. He remembers her from the internment camp. She pleads for him to stop, highlighting he has already killed too many innocent citizens of the Empire. He stares deeply right at Daroka whilst destroying the soldier. He laughs as she referred the citizens as innocent. He approaches her, pointing out all humans are the enemy no matter if they were prisoners. When she tells him Chloe would not be pleased with his actions, his face dropped. He grabs her by the shirt in anger, telling her to not casually call his master's name. He lifts her off her feet and warns her not to get involved. She calls him by his name and says this was the name the highest ranked witch gave to her most treasured apprentice. Daroka reveals she is a witch. He drops her in complete confusion. His anger builds back up as he grabs her by the throat, stating all witches are dead and to not play with him. Daroka claims she survived the witch pursuits. His grip tightens as he questions why she did not come to rescue Chloe. She deeply apologizes as her only thought was to escape. She promises to bring Chloe back to life. Adonis throws her to the floor as he feels she is insulting him. He begins to use his summoning magic. She insists they can resurrect Chloe, but she needs his memories of her to do it. He puts his sword to her neck and threatens to kill anyone who gets in his way or mocks his master Chloe. While she accepts his decision, he hesitates and has a breakdown. He falls to one knee with tears pouring down his face. He asks if she can really bring Chloe back to life. She confirms and tells him to follow her. As she puts her hand out for him, she is brutally gunned down. Daroka goes back into time when their town was invaded by the army. The army set the whole town on fire and began shooting at all the witches Rambo style. Their mission was to destroy all witches. A lady called Mia holds on to Daroka from behind. She is relieved that Daroka is not hurt. Daroka is really confused as to why the humans want to kill all witches, as they recently went to the city to cure Mr. Tom's illness. When she suggests using magic, Mia points out there is a machine present suppressing their magic. She insists for Daroka to run and head to Madame Ophelia to inform her of the situation. Daroka insists for Mia to go with her, however she refuses and tells her to follow the Star of Revelation. Whilst tears pour down Daroka's face, Mia picks up a puppet and tells her if she runs as quickly as possible, nobody will be able to catch her. She takes the puppet and begins to run off. The army eventually find Mia and surround her. We are then brought back to Daroka in the present moment. She lays lifeless on the floor whilst Adonis places his arm on her leg, watching over her. He holds Daroka in his arms. She apologizes to him and coughs up ketchup. Adonis begs her to tell him how he can bring Chloe back to life. She grips on tight to his shirt. Before she gets the chance, she is gunned down. Adonis moves out the way doing backflips. A gymnast would be proud of them moves. He is surrounded by the army from both sides. He clenches his fist in anger as he was unable to find out how to bring Chloe back to life. Agent Ekout smirks whilst on the phone to Director Yamato, letting him know it's over for Adonis. Adonis performs a barrier with his summoning magic. The army fire at him to no prevail. Every bullet is bounced off him. He retaliates with his magic named Cates. It reverts all bullets fired at him to fire back at the army. They begin to fall down like a game of Jenga. There is one soldier remaining faced up with Adonis. He shivers in fear. As Adonis approaches him, Ekout is high up a building with a sniper. When he pulls the trigger, Adonis's written style summoning magic proves stronger again as he reverses the bullet straight back to Ekout, splitting him in half. He continues to walk closer to the remaining soldier as he sits trembling on the floor. Yamato watches on from a screen and urges Yuki to hurry up. Her task is to activate the machine that suppresses magic, which enabled them to defeat the witches. She begins to scream at two soldiers to speed up with the process. However, they are prevented as we are introduced to the director of the National Science Agency, Theta Samansta. She updates Yuki that she cannot allow them to activate the device. Yuki stares angrily whilst grabbing her gun on her waist. She wants an immediate explanation. Yamato's phone rings. He gets a surprise when he hears Theta's voice instead of Yuki's. As Theta lights her cigarette, she explains they cannot activate the magic photon suppression device due to the particles it emits. She continues further, pointed out the particles may have been the cause of the creation of human cellular dysfunction disease, which had a significant effect on the soldiers who were involved in the witch hunt 10 years ago. The device in fact kills cells in the human body, therefore any human would be destroyed if exposed to the particles. Yamato suspects this has been the cause to His Majesty's illness. Back in the city, more soldiers appear. They continue to fire, however Adonis continues to use barrier magic whilst laughing like a psychopath. The soldiers continue to fall as Adonis reverses the bullets. Yamato remains watching on angrily. Theta hands over the phone to Yuki and tells her she can now leave. Yuki does not follow her orders. She pushes the phone out the way and runs away to activate the device. She remembers Yamato telling her this is a national importance, therefore they cannot worry about illnesses. Theta requests for her staff to retreat to all units. She chases after Yuki, however is too late. Yuki manages to activate the device. As the psychopath Adonis continues with his summoning magic, things drastically change when his quill is blown out of his hands. He looks over at it in fear. The device has already affected both Yuki and Theta, although Theta had the strength to deactivate it. She screams at Yamato, suggesting they are weak if their only way to stop Adonis is by suppressing magic. He calls up for all units to charge at Adonis. They appear in numbers. Adonis runs for his life to pick up his quill, however he is prevented from it when one brave soldier charges at him. A part of a building falls down and smashes to the floor, causing a significant amount of smoke. The soldier faced up against Adonis turns on her thermoblade. Adonis's eyes light up when he realizes this could be the end for him. She takes his head clean off. She appears from the smoke holding Adonis's head. When the army realize what she has did, they begin cheering with happiness. Yamato looks like he is having an orgasm when he finds out. Yamato sends out an announcement to his soldiers. He congratulates them, however tells them not to celebrate yet. Instead to collect Adonis's body and to go round each city to check of the damage and help the victims. He informs his soldier to go check on Yuki and Theta. Back at the National Science Agency, Yuki and Theta are carried in a stretcher severely injured. Emperor Goth gives a memorial service speech to the people. He is infuriated with the fact he allowed Adonis to live because now he has caused destruction, and he is baffled how Adonis managed to use magic with him being a human. He highlights that the Radia Empire is the high point of the world and their advancement of science will not allow evil to occur at the Radia Empire. We are introduced to Eri, who is watching the speech from her phone. A bunch of students are in a classroom. The teacher informs them the national exams start tomorrow. A student raises his hand and asks why Adonis sided with the witches if he was human. The teacher suggests Adonis may have been brainwashed. As the students leave the classroom, Eri remains seated with her head in her arms. She is approached by one of her classmates. She noticed Eri's abnormal reaction, however, Eri explains it was a perfectly normal reaction to the situation. As the student leaves, Eri grinds her teeth like a Rottweiler and wishes for her to die. Eri arrives at the city where the tragedy took place. She places flowers for her boyfriend Takuma, who sadly passed away. She has a flashback to the time when Takuma was stuck under the rubble. She witnessed the giant robot controlled by Adonis and ran for her life instead of helping Takuma. The robot crushed him. She apologized for leaving Takuma and has deep regret. She has images of Adonis on her phone and confesses she has a secret crush on him. However, she is not alone. Chief Oz approaches looking over her shoulder. She panics when she notices his government badge. When she attempts to delete the photos, he pleads for her not to, but she must not tell anyone about it. He promises not to tell anyone, however, once she runs off, he is straight on the phone to Chief Investigator Charmy. He informs her that Eri needs to be seized and the possible consequences will be either execution or imprisonment. Before Oz puts down the phone, he requests a kiss and hug from Ms. Charmy when he arrives back. We are then introduced to Chief Investigator Charmy. She requests a transfer due to her terrible working conditions and being sexually harassed by her boss. She informs the news that Adonis was not actually killed. It was a clone of him. The real Adonis is screaming in pain as the witches try to perform the heterophase transfer on him. His condition keeps worsening, and the witches think that maybe this was too much for Adonis to handle. Madame Ophelia arrives and uses magic to stimulate Adonis's brain so he can come back to his senses. Who needs medicine when you've Ophelia? In a flashback, we see the soldier that killed Adonis was Anna, who is also a witch. She used duplication magic, death cancel, to fake Adonis's death. She reveals that she and Doroka infiltrated this nation and that everything that has happened so far is in accordance with their plan. She tells Adonis that their goal is to resurrect Chloe. Adonis has no idea what's happening, but Anna says that there is no time for him to ask questions as she asks Madame Ophelia to transport Adonis. He gets engulfed by a ball and starts heading toward the sky, whereas tears fall down Anna's eyes as she apologizes to Doroka for not being able to save her. In the present, Ophelia hugs Adonis, thanking him for fighting for the witches, but Adonis has a look of suspicion on his face and asks who they are. He looks around him and realizes that he is in the nation of witches. Is this Hogwarts for grown-ups? A witch now shows him around as he sits in a wheelchair. Two more witches, seeing him wander around, are glad that he is alright and say that Chloe would have been sad if something happened to him. He is surprised that they know Chloe, and the witches say that Chloe was very kind to them when they were little. Adonis is taken to meet Ophelia, and as he reaches her, he asks the witch attending to him to let him out of the wheelchair as he can walk. But Ophelia stops him from doing so, saying that no human is allowed to touch their land. Adonis asks her what they did to him, and she replies that they just invited him here, referring to him as an apprentice of Chloe. He is surprised that even Ophelia knows Chloe, and she says that there is no witch here who doesn't know who Chloe is. She talks about how Chloe was stronger, smarter, and kinder than any other witch, and even though she used ice magic, her warmth felt like that of a sun. Unfortunately, Chloe was cast out, and Adonis says that Ophelia was the one who did so because Chloe taught magic to a human child. Ophelia asks if Chloe was the one who told him this, but Adonis says that he figured it out himself as he spent most of his time with her. Ophelia explains how, for a witch, magic is everything. It is equivalent to her soul, and they believe that they were given magic by God to lead mankind. That's why it shouldn't be taught to a human. But Chloe took in a human child as an apprentice, and even though everyone asked her to return, she didn't do so and kept going on her path. Ophelia now reveals Adonis's quill, which agitates him. He tries to retrieve it but falls to the ground because he hasn't fully recovered. The quill is a magic-imbued phoenix feather with adornments resembling waves and a red dragon's eye. Ophelia calls it a masterpiece and gives it to Adonis. She asks if Chloe was the one who made it for him, and as his eyes fill up with tears, he replies who else could have done it but her. He asks Ophelia if they really want to bring Chloe back to life, and Ophelia replies that witches never lie. As Adonis looks up to the sky, he is shocked, seeing that he is not on Earth. Ophelia reveals that after it became impossible to live with humans, they came to this place that was out of humans' reach. They live here peacefully and made it the new witches' nation, Lunamilla. She now takes him to the tree Mido that produces witches and asks if he has seen it before. Adnis replies it is his first time and says that Chloe didn't like to talk about her origin. Ophelia explains how all witches are unisex, so they don't have any mating partners. The only way for a new witch to be born is through this tree. This is the last Mito tree that was transported from Earth's surface, and the rest were destroyed by humans. This is the last thing left that can produce witches who are born as fruits from the tree. I've heard of family trees, but this is taking it to a whole new level. As Adnis looks closely, he sees a fruit with a witch looking similar to Chloe. He asks if that is the real Chloe, but Ophelia says that it is just a witch waiting to be born. But it can turn into Chloe with the help of Adnis. Magic is one's thoughts turned into reality, and with Adnis's summoning magic, he can turn any of his thoughts into reality. For Chloe to be reborn, Adnis needs to send all of his memories of Chloe to the witch who is about to be born. She says that Adnis is key to Chloe's resurrection, and as she leaves, she asks him to call for her when he is ready, and then they will start the ceremony. As Adnis lies beneath the tree thinking about what he should do, Anna approaches him, demanding that he apologize for Doroka's death. But Adnis doesn't seem to care. He says that this was all part of their plan, so she should not blame him. Adnis is like, I missed the part where that's my problem. Anna calls him selfish, questioning why did they even save him, which makes Adnis angry. And he says that they rescued him so they could use him. Anna has no idea what he is talking about, but Adnis doesn't believe her and reveals that when Doroka was about to die, she told him that the witches will try to use him and Chloe, so they should flee as soon as possible. Witches can survive harsh environments without any protective gear, but they still made such a grand facility, so the only explanation is that this is a jail to keep humans in. He tells Anna how the witches are a dying breed, so they are going to kidnap humans and teach them the written summoning magic so they can fight on their behalf. But the problem is that Chloe is the only one who can make the quills, so that is why they are helping him bring Chloe back to life. Adnis still plans on going through with all this but tells Anna that if Chloe decides to go against the witches, he will also consider all of them his enemies. The ceremony now starts, and Adnis uses nostalgic magic to transfer Chloe's memories to the new witch. He thinks about how much he enjoyed the time he spent with her, but now it all seems like a dream. The ceremony is completed successfully, and Doroka emerges from the tree. And that is where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.